Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a little different from my usual content. Normally I don't dive into politics here, but this is something I've been thinking about a lot and I wanted to explore it with you in an honest way. What I'm going to do today is two things. We're going to talk about some warning signs and we have a tarot reading. So with the warning signs, I have 10 warning signs that I've gathered from Donald Trump's behavior that historians often compare to early stages of authoritarianism. Just so you kind of know where I am with how I feel. And then even things that we saw in Germany too before World War II. Now, I'm not saying history will repeat exactly or that we're on the exact same path Germany was, but I do think that the parallels here are very worth looking at. And it is important to remember that, with Germany, it was successful because part of the reason it was successful is because the people who didn't support it, some of them just stayed silent because they was like, oh, that doesn't affect me right now. But the problem is it ends up affecting you at some point. So after we go through those 10 signs, I'm going to switch over to do a tarot reading. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to ask the cards or anything yet. I haven't done the reading yet. So just to kind of see where all this energy is heading, this isn't obviously going to be a relaxing or ASMR this time. But it's going to be definitely a discussion and exploration, and I'm very curious to see what the cards have to say. So I did write down a list here. Let me get my list up. So the first example is scapegoating minorities. Hitler, for example, vilified Jews, Roma, and others. Hitler has repeatedly demonized immigrants, Muslims, and asylum seekers. Example, the Muslim travel ban, family separations at the border, and language painting immigrants as invaders or poisonous to the blood of the country. Example number 2, detention camps and harsh enforcement. Nazi Germany normalized detention before genocide. It didn't start out as genocide. Trump massively expanded immigration detention centers with widely documented abuses and child separation, creating normalized state cruelty against a targeted group. Example number 3, attack on the press, which we have seen a lot in the last few days. Hitler controlled and censored the press. Trump has called journalists enemies of the people, and delegitimizing critical media and boosting loyalist outlets. And like with the most recent thing with Jimmy Kimmel and the FCC, the company pulled Jimmy Kimmel, and I've seen some people be like, well, it was his job that did it, not the government. And I'm like, well, the FCC is controlled by the government, and they're the ones that pressured the company to do that. The company wouldn't have just done that out of thin air. And I do highly encourage you to watch clips like that so you see for yourself what was actually said. Because I have seen worse things said on TV than what was said. Number 4, personality cult and loyalty tests. Hitler built a Führer cult demanding absolute loyalty. The U like that always gets me, so I don't know if I said the name of that cult right. Trump demands loyalty over law. Example, firing officials who contradicted him, pushing DOJ/FBI/Supreme Court of the United States as loyalty instruments, purging inspectors general. I don't know what I meant to write there when I wrote that. Maybe that's what I meant to write. I don't know. This is a lot of words, so I had to write this all down before I recorded. Number 5, disinformation and the big lie. Hitler relied on propaganda to rewrite reality. Trump's false, stolen election narrative functions as a big lie believed by millions and used to justify undermining democracy. Number 6, encouraging political violence. Hitler's essay Brown Shirts intimidated opponents. Trump has praised violent supporters as very fine people, calling January 6th rioters as patriots and promising pardons, which he fulfilled. Normalizing violence as political expression. Number 7, undermining democratic institutions. I almost said demonic. Undermining democratic institutions. Nazis eroded democracy from within and then abolished it. Trump has openly pressured election officials, attacked judges, and tried to overturn legitimate election results. For example, in 2016, when he called the governor of Georgia, and you can hear the phone call, and he tells him to find the 16,000 votes. Number 8, militarized rhetoric and threats of invasion. Hitler thrived on expansionist threats. Trump has joked about invading Canada and Mexico and used military-style language against domestic protests. When the looting starts, the shooting starts, is something he said. Number 9, normalization of corruption. Hitler blurred state and party to reward allies. Trump has funneled government contracts and pardons to loyalists and used businesses for personal enrichment while in office, and pressured agencies to act for political ends. And then 10, delegitimizing opposition as existential enemies. Hitler framed opponents as traitors and enemies within. And then Trump has routinely called Democrats, critics, and even Republicans who oppose him as traitors, vermin, or enemies of the state. Obviously, there is way more than those 10 examples I could give. What I'm now going to do is I am going to meditate on these cards. I am an intuition-based reader. I also just need time to kind of meditate with them. So I'm going to shuffle this off camera, decide what kind of question I really want to craft, because I really want to see what the cards have to say, what might be coming up for us. It feels like this year things have moved very fast, and I know I have really started to worry, so let's just see what's coming up. I'll be right back. Okay, I think the way I'm going to do this, or the way I'm planning now, is I'm going to do a small reading for each year, 2025, 26, 27, and 28. At least for now. It might change depending on what we see come out here. I did just pull the cards for the rest of 2025. I wrote down some notes as to what was coming to me intuitive-wise as I was pulling them and stuff. So the first card here we had is the 10 of Wands. I used the Lightseers Tarot for this part. This isn't the deck I'll be using the whole time though. Anyways, the 10 of Wands suggests heavy burdens, carrying too much, exhaustion. This suggests a sense of, like overload in the system. People or institutions weighed down by the constant chaos and drama. With Trump in mind, it feels like 2025 is dominated by dragging baggage forward rather than real progress. It could point towards legal entanglements, scandals, or crises piling up so much that it's unsustainable, but still being carried over by his base or the government structure. The next card here we have is the Queen of Swords. This card talks about clarity, sharp truth, rational judgment, but also cold detachment. So it feels like the energy of, judges, legal rulings, or powerful female figures in politics cutting through illusions. This card often brings a harsh truth to the surface, even if it's not softened. I'm wondering, like, how to the surface that is. Well, while we pull the clarifier for that, the Page of Wands, I got, let me just show the card briefly here as I shuffle for the Page of Wands. We have enthusiastic, youthful, sometimes reckless energy. Okay, that's kind of the energy I expected to come out with it. So clarifying the last card, the Queen of Swords, I pulled the Eight of Swords. So it's going to feel kind of like a lot of us will get this truth, and I feel like a lot of us have this truth already. A lot of people will wake up to some different stuff, it looks like, maybe. But it's like, will they speak out? It doesn't really seem like it. Will they do anything? It feels like everyone's going to feel kind of stuck or trapped, and like they can't do anything about it. Which, yeah, that checks out for me at least. Next card though, Page of Wands. Like I said, enthusiastic, youthful, sometimes reckless energy. This feels like the movement energy around him, like, you know, fresh rallies, loud voices, young influencers, people using fiery, idealistic rhetoric without much grounding. It suggests that while Trump himself is weighed down, the Ten of Wands, his movement still finds ways to reignite and recruit new sparks. The overall card, I mean, we are getting the truth here with this. The Ace of Pentacles, a new seed, opportunity, or beginning in the material world. It definitely does not scream collapse, that's for sure. It screams something is being planted. Could be a new phase in Trumpism, maybe legal financial opportunities, maybe a reshaped movement that still finds funding and roots. On a collective side, this may hit in 2025 is when alternative political movements or new candidates might start building momentum as the country looks for something different. So that's one positive thing it could mean. And then our oracle card here. I'm about to get a siren go by. I'm going to pause the recording. Oh, I think they turned onto a street or something. Okay. So the oracle card from the Wild Unknown Archetypes, I think this deck's called. I can't remember what this deck's even called now. I had it so long. XLVII, right? Yeah. The Storm. Transformation through chaos. Storm energy is violent but cleansing. It disrupts everything. But it can clear the air and force rebuilding. Symbolically, this points to 2025 being a stormy year politically. Lots of disruptions, revelations, legal/ethical confrontations. It won't be stable. I think there's going to be a little bit of movement on both sides, whether it's to opposition or growth for his movement. It won't be stable, but the storm energy suggests inevitability, like something has to break down and shift. Okay, I am going to do some cards for 2026. I know we don't have much 2025, so I feel like that's about what I expected, honestly. 2026, we will have midterm elections, hopefully. And let's see what happens in 2026. Okay, so for 2026, I did something similar to the last one. I did use the Gilded Tarot deck because I do have reversals in that deck, and I just felt like it was needed for this year. And let's just go ahead and get into it, and I will talk more about it as we go through it. So we have the Three of Wands. This is about expansion, looking outward, like waiting for results, future planning. So, you know, it suggests that a lot of people are going to be looking beyond Trump or beyond the current chaos, kind of like an energy of like what's next, what's over the horizon. It could also mean that the political system maybe shifts some into a new phase. You know, people are preparing for change, not staying stuck, which makes sense as a midterm elections coming up. I haven't looked as to like what states and like what things are up for election, but Anyways, next up we have the Four of Wands, celebration, homecoming, unity. This card can point to, national relief moments, milestones, or a collective breathing space. Politically, it might mean there's a surge of community organizing, or feel like a sense of victory against authoritarianism pushes. I mean, a push against authoritarian pushes that could be in the midterm election. It could just be another event happening throughout the year, some kind of pushback in a different way, but it definitely could be in the midterm election itself. And then the next card here we have is the King of Pentacles reverse. Corruption, misuse of wealth and power, instability in leadership. Very on the nose for Trump for sure. The Businessman King, upside down. This is like the Businessman King. Upside down though, financial / legal troubles, failed leadership, inability to project stability. And then the overall card for that is the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Imbalance, inability to juggle responsibilities, chaos and priorities. This card feels like the system itself and the Trump movement loses its balance some. Things can't be juggled anymore. The plates fall. And the Oracle card, and I do have a theory, and I'll talk about that in a second. The Oracle card here is, I don't react when people mention you. Now, this deck is meant for more of a relationship type thing, but, we can use this in anything, really. We just have to adapt the meaning. So, this is potent. It feels like the energy of distancing. Could the collective be starting to move past Trump? Maybe his name doesn't provoke the same shock / fear / excitement it used to. It might even suggest Republican figures or maybe try to separate themselves from him, either out of survival or shifting winds. Taken literally, it suggests that he may become less central in 2026, even if he's still president. I wonder too if the midterm election is going to see losses for his party maybe, and he might try to say, oh look, see, election fraud, and it's just like, no, that's just the way people voted. Anyways, I did ask a bonus question on this one. I asked basically, like, is the midterm elections going to happen like normal? Is there going to be any kind of like major attempt for interference in it to try to like stop the election from happening or anything like that? And I got the Death card. Transformation, endings, or, a birth of new beginnings. At face value, midterms don't die, but the landscape almost feel like it does with this card. It absolutely could be, massive losses for his party and they spin it as fraud with this card. Or alternatively, the very form of midterm election transforms, suppression, contested elections, unusual circumstances. Either way, the Death card does tell us here the 2026 midterms are going to be a major turning point, and that this won't be a normal election. It feels like one of the most important midterm elections we've had in a long time. So putting it together here real quick, people are planning ahead with the Three of Wands and finding, some relief and unity with the Four of Wands. Trump's financial leadership image collapses, the King of Pentacles reversed. Overall, things feel unbalanced and unsustainable with the Two of Pentacles reversed. The Oracle adds, the culture may be starting to treat him as less relevant, even if he is still there. And the Death card for the bonus question suggests that the midterms will be a watershed. Either the party crashes hard, or the structure of the elections themselves is transformed in a way that changes everything. So, I don't know. Let's go ahead and pull some cards for 2027. Okay, 2027. This is definitely the most intense year we've looked at so far. So we have the Five of Swords in reverse, Now, normally this is like conflict, betrayal, winning at all costs. In reverse like this, it often points to humiliation, defeat, and exposed dishonor, though. So this could be showing like fighting within Trump's circles, or loss of control, or like a public embarrassment. It's like maybe some dirty tricks are revealed and maybe they backfire on him. The next card here we have is the Hanged Man. This talks about, stalemate, pause, surrender, shift in perspective, a big wait and see energy. Things grind to a halt. The collective is forced to step back. I did clarify that card. 2 cards came out for the clarifiers. We have the Knight of Cups reversed, and the Ten of Swords. The Knight of Cups reversed is manipulation, false promises, emotional immaturity, charisma used badly. It feels like a false savior or someone who can't deliver. And then the Ten of Swords talks about betrayal, endings, absolute collapse. That's like the knife in the back moment. It's very, very final. Together this says the Hanged Man pause happens because something or someone is exposed and utterly defeated. Could be Trump himself or just the movement burning out. But I don't know. We still have 2028 to go, and that's the next major election, so I guess we'll see what comes out with that one. The next card in the reading is the Ten of Cups reversed. Broken community, disunity, like the family falls apart. Politically, the base fragments, what once felt like a unified family is now fractured. Clarifier for this card was the Page of Pentacles in reverse. This is the lack of growth, missed opportunity, failed new start. That suggests that they may try to pivot or rebuild in 2027, but maybe it doesn't take root. Maybe they try a new path and it just doesn't work. Or gets stopped. The next card here we have for the overall energy is the Queen of Wands. We have strong, charismatic, confident feminine energy. This could be a rise of a powerful woman in U.S. politics, but it doesn't have to be a woman just because a woman's in the card. Or just simply like a shift to new and bold leadership energy that overshadows the chaos. Where the rest of the spread is about collapse and fragmentation, the Queen of Wands looks like the counterforce, like the vibrant magnetic leadership emerging. And then the Oracle card, we have XXX, the One. This archetype is about unity, destiny, ultimate oneness. It can feel ominous, but it's also about like a turning point where everything converges. In this spread, I'd read it as 2027, the year of culmination. The one path becomes unavoidable. Maybe false pretenders fall away. The Knight reversed, the Ten of Swords, leaving some space for one unifying direction. So, quick summary of 2027 for Trump in the movement: humiliation, exposure, fighting within, betrayal with the Five of Swords and the Ten of Swords. The Five of Swords was reversed though. Attempts to reboot fail. The Page of Pentacles reversed. The family fractures. Ten of Cups reversed. For the collective, a pause, a moment of suspension. The Hanged Man, where like the old collapses and the new hasn't fully taken form. Emerging energy, a new, bold, charismatic leadership. Queen of Wands rises in a vacuum. Let me clarify this real quick, actually. Can we clarify the Queen of Wands? What is this new leadership energy here? We have the Nine of Cups. Interesting. I mean, the Nine of Cups is a card that makes me even have more questions, because this is a card about, all the wishes being fulfilled, getting exactly what you want. And it's like, do they get exactly what they want with this? Or do we get exactly what we want from this? Who gets exactly what they want from this? I mean, this is typically a good card in a reading, but I mean, either way, we already know this is someone who is like very good with their words and has a way of getting what they want, but it still makes me wonder, what side are they on? And the archetype, the one, says that the fate is like a fated convergence, a moment where destiny points in one direction. I will say, just to keep in mind with everyone here, things can change over time. This isn't set in stone. This is the way things are currently going, the current path, based on the current energy. Unless a major shift happens, this is the outcome currently. If that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle for 2028 now. This is a big year. All right, 2028 here. Now, I do want to just say before we start, if you are, looking for the authoritarianism energy here to end, even if the cards was to say here that it ends and that, they lose, I do want to just note that, this isn't set in stone, and you still have to get out and vote. You, can't just... We've seen this happen in the last probably hundreds of years, honestly, where people sometimes get too comfortable, think they're going to win, and then they end up losing because people just don't go out and vote. Anyways, so 2028, get out and vote. We have the Nine of Wands. Clarifying is the Temperance. So the Nine of Wands is resilience, perseverance, and the final push. And then the Temperance, balance, harmony, healing. Together, the country or the collective may be tired, but really needs to find a balance, a measured way forward. And this feels like resilience without burnout, survival blended with healing. Oh my god, it won't come up. Oh, there we go. Okay, the next card here we had was the Three of Cups. Clarifying it was the Four of Swords in reverse. So the Three of Cups is about community, celebration, and alliance, whereas the Four of Swords in reverse talks about restlessness, recovery after a long period of tension. Together, these say the collective finally gets up from the rest and celebrates again after years of stress. There's active community energy and relief. I hope so. We could use it for sure. But like I said, we have to get out and vote to make that happen. It's not going to come to us. The Lovers card, Major Arcana number 6, is the next card. Clarified by the Emperor in reverse. The Lovers is about union, choices, and moral clarity. The Emperor reversed is about the abuse of power and authoritarianism crumbling, or the control crumbling. Together, the choice is, lovers between freedom, unity, and authoritarianism, and the reversal suggests authoritarianism energy, like the Trump energy, is undermined or rejected. Again, I say, that's not going to be handed to us. You still have to get out and vote. And the next card is the Knight of Wands. Clarifying it, we have the Ace of Cups in reverse. Hold on. Okay. I could hear in the distance a motorcycle coming up, and I know this isn't ASMR, but I don't want a roaring motorcycle past. Anyways, what was I saying? The Knight of Wands, clarifying it, was the Ace of Cups in reverse. So the Knight of Wands, fiery, impulsive, charismatic leadership, energy, charging forward. The Ace of Cups in reverse, blocked emotional fulfillment, empty promises, superficial passion without deeper care. Together, this reads as a charismatic movement / leader surges forward, but their emotional core is hollow. There's energy, but not true heart or compassion. It could represent a Trumpist successor figure, or the remnants of his movement, loud, passionate, but emotionally unfulfilling to the collective. It also suggests that while there's fire and drive, it may burn out quickly because it lacks depth. Which is interesting. Okay, how do I want to hold these up? The overall cards were Major Arcana 11, sorry, it's backwards to me, Justice, and then Major Arcana 17, the Star. This did have one clarifier on the Justice for the Knight of Cups in reverse. So the Justice card is about, truth and accountability. The Knight of Cups reverse, clarifying that, is about manipulation, empty promises, and charm that misleads. It reads as justice against the manipulator. The reversal clarifies that false promises and deceptive leaders are held accountable. And the Star, which I didn't clarify, is about renewal, hope, and collective healing. Honestly, I don't feel like it needs a clarifier. Anyways, the Oracle cards, I did use the Hidden Truth Oracle again, which, again, like I said earlier, is more about romantic relationships normally. But I like using decks like this in readings like this sometimes. Anyways, the first one is the timing just wasn't right for us. This reinforces the message that Trumpism movement has passed. And hopefully, like I said, we control that destiny. You have to get out and vote. In 2026 and in 2028, if you have any other major elections in your state, get out and vote for those two. It's not going to just instantly happen. Anyways, and then the next card is I Want to Tell You How I Feel. It suggests revelations, confessions, or maybe some truths coming out. It could tie directly to the Justice card and the accountability that we've seen. And then an overall synthesis here is, with the Nine of Wands and the Temperance, we have the collective endures and begins to find balance. We have the Three of Cups and Four of Swords reversed, relief and celebration after long strain, people reconnecting. We have the Lovers and Emperors reversed, the Big Choice, authoritarianism, consciously rejected, and the Knight of Wands and Cups, Ace of Cups reversed, passionate forces still push forward, but their emotional resonance is false or fading. The movement may be noisy, but it doesn't nourish people much anymore. So, there could even still be a worry even then, even though we have such a, I feel like, great reading here, honestly. It could still be a worry of, are they going to win? Is authoritarianism going to win? And I know he's joked about running for a third term, whether someone just runs instead of him, or whether he's really old, whether he's just not alive by then, and someone runs in his place. Because I know like I said, he's joked about running a third term, whether you think it's a joke or not. He's made the joke about it. So, which isn't a joke, it isn't funny. But anyways, maybe whoever runs instead of him just doesn't have the same reach or same connection to his base. So yeah, the authoritarianism push still exists with, the Knight of Wands and the Ace reversed, but it's shallow and unstable, and the collective gains balance and enjoy and healing. Authoritarianism power is directly undermined, and the path forward is about truth and renewal. Authoritarianism becomes more noise than substance. So I'm glad that we got such a great ending for that. To make this happen, though, you have to get out and vote. I cannot say it enough. And I don't know. I feel satisfied with that as a reading. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that reading. And I don't plan on posting political videos really on this channel. I just really felt called to do this. And I have a tarot channel, but I don't use it anymore. And I haven't used it in a long time. So I'm going to just post this here. You know, I probably will lose followers because of this on here. Because like I said, I don't talk about politics normally. But I don't care. It's not about that. I felt like I needed to do this. And you can't stay silent. You know, too many people did in Germany in the 1930s, and look what happened. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. We will be back for an ASMR video. I know my schedule's kind of been all over the place. I don't know when it'll be. I'll see you guys soon. And until then, take care. Take care of your mental health. And I really appreciate everyone who watches my videos. And I will see you guys later. Bye.